The Pistons overcome a 3-1 deficit against the Orlando Magic, almost to the day. And we knew, chip in a chair, Pistons down 3-1. They have the pieces. It's just about putting it together. Going into Game 5, Franz Wagner, who had been a key piece of this Magic team this year, he's been limited by injuries all season, but he's been huge in this first round series. He was out with an injury, and as a result, Pistons able to strike in Game 5, able to put it together in the second half, get that win, and it's like, all right. Then we go into Friday, and we knew, hey, Pistons, they can do this. I'm telling you. Seeing these 3-1 comebacks previously, especially advantageous being the home court team. But it's all the same principle. Take it one game at a time. All right, you got Game 5 done. You're still alive. But now here is arguably the toughest task right here. Game 6 in their building, which has been a house of horrors for the Pistons in this series. Got to find a way to go into their building, get the job done. And then just like that, you're going back to Little Caesars Arena, Game 7 in front of your home fans. And then you have a chance to actually finish the job, move on, and complete the comeback. So Friday night, Game 6 on the road. The Pistons actually played very well in that first quarter. You know, very close, 26-25 at the end of one, but then a nightmare second quarter. And it's like, ugh. This is, and I know everybody watching probably had the same thought, like, oh, this is it. I wouldn't be surprised if some people actually turned the game off at halftime. I don't think many people actually did, though, because, you know, this being the potential last game of the season for the Pistons, it's like, all right, why not stay tuned in for the second half, see if they can at least make this close. So the Pistons go into halftime with a 22-point deficit, quick bucket by the Magic, 24-point lead early in the third quarter. And Pistons, at that time, they just somehow remembered that they were the number one seed, and they won 60 games in the regular season. And they absolutely turned it on, bucket after bucket after bucket. Not only do buckets start to drop, but they ramp up the defense to an unbelievable level. And I was telling myself when I saw the lead come within 19 points, I was telling myself, okay, if the Pistons can at least cut this thing to inside 15 points, go into the fourth quarter inside 15 points, they have a chance. But they did more than that. It was actually only within a few minutes just into the third quarter. Just about 5 minutes in, they already cut this thing down to like 10 points. It's like, wow. The Pistons are right there. They are back from the dead. You cut it to single digits especially. You got a chance. And the Magic, they were starting to feel the pressure. You know, now this is going to be an infamous tweet. But at halftime, the Orlando Magic social media, they posted the halftime score, and they said BRB. You know, clearly their social media team thought they had this one in the bag. But not to be. Pistons go into the fourth quarter down by 9. It kind of hovered around there, but then this is the quarter of the season. The Pistons needed 31-8 fourth quarter. They outscored the Magic 55-19 in the second half. And the Magic went on a record streak, infamous for them, record streak. What was it, 23 missed shots in a row? So just an unbelievable second half turnaround for this Pistons team. And even so, at the end of the day, 93 points, that's a very low score, 40% from the floor. That's kind of what we've expected in this series. Very low scoring, very ugly, not aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Sort of grinded out series. But when your offense is not necessarily clicking at its full potential, you need to make it just as tough on the other guys. And boy, they made it just as difficult as possible. Insane how you can have 60 points at halftime with the Orlando Magic, which that's about what, average for today's NBA? It's an average number because then you're on pace for 120. 60 points at halftime, you finished with 79 points total. That's wild. And the Pistons. Cade Cunningham, he's putting this on his shoulders. He knows, like, all right, it all starts with me. Need to step up. He did. Jalen Duren, I've loved what he's been doing slowly but surely as the series has gone on. Of course, they've not really been looking at him as a offensive weapon, but at least doing some of the other stuff, getting some good stops, playing some tough defense in the paint, getting the rebounds. But two of the key guys who made this 3-1 comeback possible, but specifically able to win games 6 and 7, Tobias Harris and Asar Thompson. So Tobias Harris, in this series, kind of flew under the radar a little bit early on. 17 points and 16 points, respectively, in games 1 and 2. Finished with 23 points in game 3, 20 points in game 4. But then 23 points, 9 of 18 shooting, 50% in game 5. He had 22 points and 10 rebounds in game 6. Game 7, which we'll get to in a moment, 30 points, 11 of 18 shooting, 5 of 7 for 3, and he was a huge part of the team building that lead going into halftime. Again, we'll get to Game 7 in a moment. But Asar Thompson, 4 blocks and a steal in Game 6. This guy's defense, we knew, all season the way that this guy has been playing defensively. He's been a huge, I would say underrated part of this Pistons team. You need guys who can score. You need guys who can shoot. You need guys who can move the ball around. But especially in today's offensive-heavy NBA, you still need those guys that are just straight-up defense. And not to say that Asar Thompson can't do things offensively, but, man, this guy defensively. And obviously rewarded with a finalist, being named a finalist for the Defensive Player of the Year, of course, unanimously won by Victor Wembanyama, but still being named essentially one of the 3 best defenders in the NBA this season. That shone through in the end of this playoff series. So unbelievable second-half comeback for the Pistons in Game 6. Pistons come all the way back from the dead. Again, if you looked at the score, again, just like at halftime, much less coming just out of halftime, you probably would have shut it off, be like, all right, yeah, that's it. And then you probably would have gotten, checked the score later. I wonder what the final. What? The Pistons came back? Yeah. Unbelievable stuff. So we now go to Game 7. Yesterday. It's in your house. This place is rocking right from the get-go. But the Magic, they were not going down without a fight. Paolo Banchero specifically, with the absence of Franz Wagner, he's had to really step it up scoring. But the problem with the Magic is he hasn't been able to get any help. There have been role players in this series for the Magic in their 3 wins that have stepped up and made some big shots here and there, but mostly that scoring has not been consistent enough. And Paolo Banchero had to put it on his shoulders, had to do it all himself. But again, that said, very close in the first quarter. As a matter of fact, the Magic briefly controlling the action for a bit. And the Pistons just, able to keep up. But then going into the second half, going into halftime with that huge run, Tobias Harris making threes, Duncan Robinson making threes. Just like that, the Pistons up double digits at halftime. That place is rocking. Little Caesars Arena loud. Not like they can cheer for the Red Wings in the playoffs. And then second half, that just continues. Able to lead by as many as 25 points, just building on that lead. Fourth quarter rolling on. But man, you know what they say, defense wins championships? Pistons defense. Shown up big in this one. Again, it was basically Paolo Banchero and then not much help. 14 to 25 shooting. But didn't really get significant scoring contributions from elsewhere. But how about this? This was the most Pistons that the Pistons have looked like in this entire playoff series, at least on the offensive side of the ball. Mentioned Tobias Harris, 30 points, 9 rebounds. His amazing shooting from three especially. He got hot in that second quarter. Cade Cunningham, unbelievable performance, 32 points, 12 assists. 10 of 18 shooting, 4 of 6 from 3. Love when Cade's hitting that three-point shot, too. But what was I saying earlier in the series and have been saying the entire season? Cade Cunningham is at his most effective when he is A, shooting efficiently, B, not turning the ball over. Did have 4 turnovers, which is a little bit of a high number, but next to 12 assists, that's still a great ratio, a 3-to-1 ratio. Just what the doctor ordered for this Pistons team. Jalen Duren finally looked like Jalen Duren again that we've expected all season long. 15 points, 15 rebounds. Got a steal mixed in there. Asar Thompson with some amazing defense as always. 4 of 5 shooting otherwise. And how about this? Dennis Jenkins off the bench. 4 of 5 3-point shooting for 16 points. He had that big three-pointer to end the third quarter at the buzzer. And the Pistons, they complete the 3-1 comeback. History repeats itself. Pistons overcame a 3-1 deficit as the number 1 seed against the 8th seed Orlando Magic back in 2003 in the first round. They do it again here in 2026. Pistons win their first playoff series since 2008. We're on what, the iPhone 17? That was barely the iPhone 3G maybe at that time. If anything, just the very first iPhone. Give you a perspective. 18 years. The Pistons playoff series win drought, officially an adult at that point. So first playoff series win for the Pistons since 2008. The Orlando Magic, their season ends in heartbreaking fashion. And also the Pistons, we mentioned, they were only the third team in NBA history to win at least 60 games in the regular season, but then fall behind at 3-1 in their first round series as the number 1 seed. The first 2 teams, the 2007 Dallas Mavericks and the 2011 San Antonio Spurs, neither of those teams completed the 3-1 comeback, but the Pistons, they changed that history. Pistons, they got it done. And again, the Magic, otherwise it's going to be the season that got away. The season that never was. They had a lot of high expectations going into the season. Many national media talking heads had them as a dark horse contender in the Eastern Conference. And while injuries did hamper them this season, I didn't really ever see that throughout the year, even when they were more healthy. But then they show up in the playoff series ready to go. Pistons needed a big-time wake-up call. Part of it is matchup, too. This is probably the only team in the Eastern Conference that could match the Pistons' physicality. But it really took the Pistons a long time before they finally got something going offensively. But when you're able to crank your defense up to a level really unseen in today's NBA, that was evocative of, like, literally the Pistons teams of the 2000s. Much less the early 2000s, where NBA games were a lot lower scoring before various rule changes. The Pistons channeled the 2000s Pistons to get the job done. So it's great for the Pistons, this organization, this fan base. I mean, we already knew as of last season you have a team that you actually can feel good about, but now it's like, now with the Pistons finally winning a playoff series, especially one in this fashion, you can actually say now, like, the Pistons, they're back. Pistons are back, baby. Orlando Magic also firing their head coach after blowing this 3-1 lead. They have some question marks, but in the meantime, the Pistons have the second round to look forward to for the first time since 2008. They've got the Cleveland Cavaliers, who needed Game 7 yesterday as well to take down the Toronto Raptors. We'll talk about that series later on in the show. But Pistons against Cavs, Game 1 is tomorrow night. And I like this, that we're finally now in the second round of the playoffs. We're in that time of year where now it's every other day. None of this, 2 or 3 days between games nonsense like the NBA does in the first round of the playoffs. So it's every other day. You got Tuesday, Thursday, Game 2. Saturday, Game 3. Monday, Game 4. That's what I like. Every other day makes it easy. But anyways, the Pistons and the Cavs getting underway in the second round tomorrow. You already know we're going to have the live coverage right here for you on Jackson's Fox Sports 101.9 FM.
If you missed today's installment of On the Docket, podcast it at foxsports1019.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to tune in live weekdays at noon on Jackson's Fox Sports 101.9 FM.